morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita CBD. Now, in our first story, Apostle General of the Royal House Chapel International, Sam Crunchy Ankara, is urging President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo to get in touch with the presidential candidate of the opposition National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, to resolve their differences for peace to prevail. Leading his congregates to pray for peace in this country, the Apostle General urged the president-elect to consider appointing members of the opposition party in key positions of government, opining the winner takes all system is fueling hatred.
The Lord said, I should tell you there will be peace in Ghana. Ghana will never bend. For your sake, there will be peace in this nation. And today I made some bold statements on your behalf. And I want to repeat. I said, I want His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo to call John Mahama. Even though I know that it is the one in opposition who calls. But because he's a father of the nation, I want him to stretch a hand of peace to his opponents and even those who are criticizing him and whatever. He should tell John Mahama, John, this thing is not about the fight. Let peace prevail. Can you come to my office? Let us talk. I pray that this week that will happen. Second invocation. Any parliamentary seat that has come under a battle or fight or contention this week, may the matter be settled to the glory of God's name. Amen. And the third one is very dangerous. So if you hear people insulting me, please pray for me and then protect me. Moses, the third one. I said, I asked the president to dare for the first time, when he's giving cabinet positions, he should pick some members from the opposition and give them posts. We want to kill the winner takes all spirit. It's dying by the power of the masses in the blood. It is the winner takes all spirit that brings the contention and the fight and unforgiveness. Because people say, are we going to wait for the next 4 years again?
Meanwhile, General Overseer of the Perez Chapel, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, has urged former President John Mahama to choose peace over chaos as he contests the results of the just-ended elections. Addressing congregates during his Sunday morning service, the presiding bishop referred the NDC candidates to the election petition at the Supreme Court in 2008, calling on him to learn lessons from its implications.
The EC declared the presidential for Nana Addo, and then the parliamentary also had winners. My church members and others who won, I say congratulations to you. To those who lost, we pray better favor for you next time. Excellency John Mahama, who is contesting the presidential results, we pray you do it peacefully. In 2012, when a similar thing happened, it was not easy in this country.
En 2012, lorsqu'une chose similaire s'est produite, ce n'était pas facile.
A number of people have already lost their lives. Nobody needs to die because of an election. We therefore condemn the use of firearms on unarmed civilians. We ask that proper investigations be conducted in the deaths of the people who wanted to defend their votes. Because democracy is not a war. We continue to pray for peace to prevail. May God help our homeland, Ghana.
Now, lawyer Justice Shrimsai has resurrected the debates for Ghana to have an early election to create adequate time to deal with election disputes before a legitimate president is sworn in on January 7. This comes after the National Democratic Congress rejected the results in the just-ended election, indicating a possible suit. Lawyer Shrimsai indicates the 42-day timeline set by the Supreme Court could be challenged if more aggrieved citizens also sue. He says an October or November election date is a suitable solution to allow for a second round to be held if necessary and still have time for a smooth transition before January 7. He was speaking on the legal show, The Law, with Samson Ladi.
So, Professor Kokwasa has been arguing that we should have made it in such a way that the swearing in doesn't happen until the case is over, so that you don't have to swear in a president, and if the case, the one who has sued wins, then you have to do it all over again.
Yes, so that would require that we hold the election earlier than we have been
like holding. They tried to do.
Yeah, with amendments. That would have been a perfect situation. You know, at the time they were drafting the constitution, if you read the commentaries, the reason they brought the election so close to the end of term was a situation where you don't want someone who has, you know, lost power, who is outgoing, let me put it that way, having to do so much before the new person comes in.
Right.
And I think the democracy has entrenched itself in a way that we can cater for that. So for Professor Sare's good view, which I think is good to apply, then we need to pull back the election to somewhere, maybe November or even October.
Yeah.
Then we can.
So actually, the thing that Parliament was trying to do was to bring the election to November.
Precisely.
Okay.
But we all saw what happened. The little challenge here is about not allowing. I mean, those who have the locus, they're standing to bring this kind of action. I think the Constitution says a citizen.
Any citizen at all.
Yes, so what if more than one citizen brings a petition with different grounds? The question still remains, how is the court going to manage this situation to meet its 42 days? So, for example, if the challenger, the main person who is challenging the election, let's say, in this case, let's assume President Mahama is challenging the election. And then NDC also files an independent suit. And maybe you put in one. How do we reconcile this? Because I think the reason behind limiting the parties in this CI is to enhance the speed of the trial. Because when you have too many parties, as we saw the last time, NDC would cross-examine, then after that, John Mahama's lawyers will cross-examine, and then they will respond. So it delays the trial, but I was looking for something that would also pre-organize this possibility of having these people to bring the suit. And also then another question arises, if there is a measure.
What you're talking about, there could be consolidation, right?
Yes.
So if there are more than one citizen has filed to challenge the presidential election, then all those people, their suits will be brought together as one. Then the time will begin to run.
Yes, you know, consolidation doesn't take away the issue of lawyers.
Multiplicity. I get it.
So all the lawyers for all the five will have their chance to cross-examine whoever and to submit their, you know. So there is objections here and there. I was looking for something that could actually cater for that situation. And if there is one, then on the other side too, do you restrict citizens' rights to bring this action to some, you know? So these are some of the challenges that we
no, but could they have made a law that says that only one citizen should bring a case or not more than two citizens?
That also will cause some grave injustice to everybody. So then, well, let's see how it plays out when the realities are happening.
Like they say,
you can't make law to cater for every situation, but when the situation arises, you can apply common sense and law to make sure that we advance the cause of justice.
Away from election-related stories, government has shut down a push by some civil society groups for the adoption of organic farming as the main agricultural policy, insisting it will lead to food insecurity. The Peasant Farmers Association and Food Sovereignty Ghana have been spearheading the adoption of agroecological methods of farming, which discourage the use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Sagre Bambangini, says the push for organic agriculture will endanger the nation's food security.
It's good. I say agroecology is good, but I'm saying that we have to combine it with other methods if we have to be food secure. Because the agroecology is good, but we have to reserve it for some lands and for some portions of the country and for those who can also do it. But there are others who also use different methods, like total mechanization, so that they can produce more food. Because don't forget, whilst we are addressing environmental challenges, whilst we are addressing food sovereignty challenges, we must also not lose sight of the fact that we have to address immediate food security needs of the people. Because once we are food insecure, diseases can easily set in. Once we are food insecure, there can be war and there will not be peace. And you will not even have a good and peaceful country for you to think about planning for the future. So we have to create a very, very good balance between these ideals that we are talking about and the production of food to satisfy the immediate needs of the teeming population.
So that you think that if we decide to go agroecology 100% now, we will not be able to feed ourselves sustainably? Is that the concern? That
even currently, don't we import some food produce? We import. So I don't need to even answer your question. You know, your question is already answered. So we have to be strategic. And as a country, that's what I'm saying. If farmers who want to practice agroecology, they practice. There's no problem about that. Nobody can sit on anybody's right. Anybody who wants to use his own seeds can use his own seeds. But we are also sensitizing farmers to understand that some seeds produce more yields than other seeds.
Now, residents of Kute, a rural farming community in the Jasikant district, want government to urgently open an almost complete hospital for public use. The health center, which serves over 9,000 residents, currently is operated from a rented apartment with its doors and windows hanging on promise and hope. The maternity ward shares a door with tenants in the facility, which workers say breaches confidentiality and privacy. OT regional correspondent Peter Senyu visited this community and has the rest of the story.
There's no washroom for staff and patients. So when you are working and you want to ease yourself, it's either you go home or go to a nearby house. So is the patient also, which is very inconvenient. And we have
Apologies for that break in sound. We'll bring you that story in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the Hohoe Evangelical Presbyterian Senior High School in the Volta region now has a fully furnished clinic provided by the 1998 batch of old students. The 65,000 Ghana cedi facility is expected to augment healthcare delivery by ensuring rapid responses to emergency cases. Fred Kwame Asari has the rest of the story.
The Hohoe Evangelical Presbyterian Senior High School was established 59 years ago by Western missionaries. The school, with a population of over 3,000, had no health facility. Hence, students had to travel to the Hohoe Municipal Hospital for health care. This affected academic works and put their lives at risk, especially in times of emergency. This development prompted the 1998 year batch to refurbish, convert, and furnish an existing structure into an ultramodern clinic for their alma mater. The 65,000 Ghana cedis facility has an outpatient department, a consulting room, male and female wards, and a dispensary stocked with medical consumables and medication. Innocent Chawe is the president of the HERBS 98 Association.
Even the initial target of our year group was to provide the school with 300 monobeds within 3 years. The incident of COVID-19 global pandemic influenced our decision to prioritize the clinic from this year. Considering the rise in the population from 700 to 3,000 students due to the free SHS policy, I thought it expedient to provide a facility to cater for the health needs of our cherished students and staff, especially in these abnormal times. My executives welcomed this laudable but tough idea, and the whole group rallied together to build this clinic with ultra-modern equipment for our alma mater.
The headmaster of the school, Franklin Amesimeku, indicated the clinic would be of immense benefit to the school community.
Yes, this is a dream that has come true. When I assumed the office as a headmaster of the school, almost every night, there is a knock on my door that a student has fallen sick and has to be rushed to the hospital. So looking at this, I contacted the OCDs. They put it before their colleagues, and the 98-year group came in to assist us. So for me as a head, this facility will be of immense benefit to my students when it comes to their health issues.
The Hohoe Municipal Director of Health, Dr. Pius Mensah, pledged his outreach support to ensure the efficient operation of the clinic.
Should you need any first aid, when I commissioned the place and I went to inspect it, I think that they have all it takes to give you the basic medical care you need should you fall sick on this compound. We have already posted a competent nurse to manage the facility. And we'll pledge our support as a hospital and as a municipal director of health that we will support this facility. Already have enough medications there. But should you need some time to come and you are challenged, you can follow us. We will support you.
Fred Kwame Asai, Joy News, Hohoe.
Before I leave, a mobile laboratory. That's the idea that has earned young entrepreneur Charles Ofori and Supim global recognition. The 27-year-old has revolutionized how children in basic schools understand science by giving them a simple way of conducting experience from the comfort of their homes. But that's not where the story ends. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the young inventor has developed extra features in the science set that could help children minimize the spread of the virus. Let's find out how.
Saw his father, who was a science teacher, struggle to explain simple scientific theories to his pupils. His desire to make his father's job easier gave birth to the idea of the Science Set, a mobile laboratory that helps children conduct basic experiments on the go.
The set now has components for doing the original simple electric circuit, but you now have things like solar panels, you have students learning about robotics, you have students learning about how to generate electricity from the wind, how Akosombo works, so many exciting activities. There's also a project that kids can build a water pump, they can build an irrigation system, they can learn about vertical farming, while still doing all of the other interesting fundamental physics activities like building simple circuits and learning about resistors and all of that.
The Science Set contains about 45 components, each with unique functions. With proper assembling, children can make their own robot, fan and torchlight. But that's not all. Charles Ofori and his team have developed new features.
You know, when children learn, it's one thing to learn the concepts and one thing to pass your exams. But to be able to appreciate the use of what you're learning and to be able to apply the things you're learning in real life is really fundamental to holistic education. And so what we did was that we said, hey, with this COVID-19 pandemic around, students can learn about the diseases, they can learn about personal hygiene, but they can also learn about innovation and technology by applying some of the things they learn from the set in actually creating a hand washing system that you don't have to touch the tap with your hand in order to use. So they actually get to apply things that they are learning in class or things they're learning from the science set in real world situations.
10-year-old Arian is one of the thousands of pupils who have had to stay home since the government announced the closure of schools as part of efforts to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. She was introduced to the Science Set during the period and has been trying her hands on some experiments, one of which is this electronic motion sensor tap.
It works by stepping on the switch to make the water flow from the motor. So when you need the water to flow, you have to step on the switch, and when you step on the switch, the energy from the battery, the electrical energy from the battery flows through the wires into the motor to make the water come out.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Yes, It works and my hands are squeaky clean. Charles Oforian Tipem's dream is to see every child owning a set, an ambition his team is working tirelessly to achieve. For Sinasafo, for Joy News.
And that's how we end the AM News here on the AM Show. The AM Show continues with Mama Vio Sabwaje and Benjamin Akakpo. Enjoy.
Well, welcome aboard as that part of the show where we get you up to speed on happenings in Ghana and beyond as per the newspapers. So I have this morning the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Dispatch, the publisher newspaper, the Ghanaian Publisher, the Ghanaian Observer, and the Economy Times. Time to say bonjour to Mama V.
Hey, hi, good
Ça va?
weekend? Ça va très bien? I think I had a wonderful weekend.
D'accord.
Very restful. Don't go further, Charlie. You know,
I was about to say,
you know the part where you talk and people actually are
français, and then I realized that
the part where, like, you know, if you had left it there, people would have been convinced that, oh, she speaks French too, you know?
Actually, we've left it there. You are now going you are exposing yourself with a pink sheet. How are you this morning?
Oh, very well, very well.
Black
very
looks
well.
good on you.
Well, thank you.
The brooch and everything.
Thank
okay, let
you.
me leave it there. Anyway, so which paper?
Before I charge you, because I'll say pay. All right, I'll do the Daily Graphic, the Finder, the Daily Guide, the Daily Statesman, and the Custodian.
Right.
Yep.
Let's start from your end.
So here we go with what's on the front page of the Daily Graphic today, 14th of December, 2020, the year of our Lord. All information on 2020 elections intact. EC debunks allegation. Comes with a picture of the chairperson, Jean Mensah. Also, Parliament reconvenes today. We know 111 of them will not be going back to the 8th Parliament. Well, some of them have voluntarily retired, if you like. Some lost their primaries. But I guess the biggest loser would be the New Patriotic Party. They've actually had a lot of their members losing this particular election, those who went through the election. Also, Techiman South results can only be settled in court, according to the Electoral Commission. Collaborates in national interest, experts tell administration. As for governance experts have urged the next administration to go to Parliament with policies and bills that will reflect the interest of the citizens to ensure cooperation from the opposition for smooth governance. And according to them, elected officials in the next administration must adopt negotiation mechanisms to bring on board the ideas and support of the opposition and make governance workable in the next 4 years. Well, you know, the thing about Parliament is I don't think it's been very difficult for the two sides to work together, really. I think largely they've agreed on things on the committee level.
I think sometimes because of the furore when it comes to some very touchy issues like Japan and the rest, we tend to think it's very antagonistic in Parliament. By and large,
it's not.
Maybe 85–90% of what they do is actually not antagonistic. So, I mean, it's legislation. And it depends on you know, the way forward and the ideas. But that is why they have their committees and all of that to dissect some of these matters so that there is some consensus generally when those bills come to the floor.
Absolutely. In the center spread, there's a news feature on electioneering amidst rising coronavirus cases. You can check it out. On the back page, Liberty beats Olympics at Dansma. There was Kotoko and Legon Cities, isn't it? This was the game that... Did you watch it? Because they said Asamoah Gyan was going to feature, but they lost, didn't they?
I didn't watch it, but I saw Asamoah Gyan recently, and I was just thinking, you know, he's packing up a lot of weight in front of him.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, in front of him. He's growing a paunch, and for a footballer, but I guess he's in his heyday now when it comes to, or should I say, the latter stages of his career when it comes to football. So maybe to be expected. Did you see Obuodo way back when that match that was played? Hey, it's been a while. I should find out where Obuokra is, the musician Obuo.
Well, let's do the Times, shall we?
Well, let's move to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Curbing electoral violence, prosecute perpetrators. That's Occupy Ghana. It's basically saying in a statement that it issued that perpetrating or prosecuting perpetrators would forestall any new violent incidents or fatalities. It says, you know, from time to time, these things happen and we sort of take a soft stance to it. We should be hard to prevent any further such happenings. Desist from fomenting trouble, that is the Northern Regional RegSec warning. But this one, Mama V, I had to get into it early. Elections coverage biased. That's the EU report there. And I just want to read this portion because I've seen some people, regurgitate this on social media. A preliminary report by the European Union Election Observation Mission of Ghana 2020 has indicated that both state-owned and private media were biased in favor of the governing NPP in their election-related coverage. Chief Observer, that is Javier Nat, said the NPP and its presidential candidate benefited from extensive additional coverage on GTV, Unique FM, and in the Daily Graphic through news and live broadcasts of government inaugurations. Interestingly, presenting the findings last Wednesday, they further observed that various private media, including UTV, the Chronicle, Daily Guide, showed bias in favor of the NPP, while Adom FM and Joy FM favored the NDC. When I read all of this, I was like, okay, EU, hey, Yanya Wodeni, Ghana for, Yanya Wodeni. Whatever you do, you can never walk that fine line. You'll always be placed somewhere. And though he's commending the country's vibrant and diverse media, they are saying that some of us were. And interestingly, if supposedly we favor the NDC has come after us hard after the elections, claiming this and that. So just some interesting stuff.
I think you need to appreciate the way the system works in Ghana at any point in time, depending on when you're monitoring the period within which you're
2008, 2012, we were the toast of some parties. 2016, 2020, we had the...
So I was just saying that, like, if you're critical, if you're foreign, you may not notice this, but depending on the period when you're monitoring, especially when there is a case, for instance, if you're monitoring during the Japa days, then you would realize that there was a lot of minority voices, because in some instances, you wouldn't even get the majority. Yeah. So if you're monitoring around that period, you probably say, oh, they're giving a lot more time to the minority NDC. You've got to understand.
And that's one problem with this exercise.
You've got to understand how things play out in Ghana. We beg to differ, EU observers, by the way. The front page of the Finder newspaper. Where is the next front page of the Finder? Here we go. Presidents of 3 countries congratulates Akufo-Addo on re-election. There's a call, and it was in our news this morning on radio, Sam Kranchiankra urging President Akufo-Addo, the president-elect, to call John Dramani Mahama, let them sit down and have a conversation and resolve the current impasse. Also, GJ condemns anti-media attacks, and the GJ has come out very strongly supporting the media and the coverage of this particular election. It feels good to know that, your mother is backing you and is there holding you together.
Well, GGA has been very proactive on this call, and I laud their effort that they've not kept quiet. Once the happenings started, I remember I was in Studio 997 then, and the GGA president, the presser, and all of that, positive from Afil Moni.
Well, House of Chiefs advises against violent post-election comments. Starting Agenda 2024 within MPP now is inimical. Also probe election deaths, injuries, and other infractions. One Ghana movement in their statement. That's the call that they are making. Governance experts advocate for change in parliamentary leadership. And is NDC in self-destruct mode? As a question says, scathing, baseless attacks can ruin its 2024 chances. There's a post, and I'll ask our producer call to go to former President John Dramani Mahama's Facebook page, okay? So he was in church yesterday and he posted something. We'll share with you when that is ready.
At the Assemblies of God.
Exactly, yes. It's something that he's been saying, and it will be good to share that with you. So we'll get it ready.
Maybe this very first caption, the banner headline in the Daily Dispatch, will pour cold water on what you were talking about, what Sam Kranchiankra and others have been saying. NDC will go to the Supreme Court over election. That's according to John Mahama.
Oh, this is the first time that...
When you get into that, yes, when you get into it, so it says that, I don't know whether this was in church, but Mr. Mahama stated at a press conference, actually, in Accra, we are unable to accept the outcome of the election as declared by the EC chairperson, Mrs. Jean Mensa. Those results are flawed and discredited. He cites Regulation 4 of CI 127, and he makes the claim that 140 seats were won by his group, but some 5 seats were stolen in mysterious ways. So that is one of the stories right there.
But where does it say that they are going to go to court? We all listen to that press conference. Well, we're looking for
it's not categorical. And since that time,
that's why I'm saying the headline.
Yunus Husseini, unfortunately, said some of the things he did. But the rhetoric has been, they mistrust the process. And the civil society and others, I mean, even on Newsfile, people told them, if you mistrust the process and if you have grievances, go to court. Because like it or not, the court of public opinion cannot overturn the results of an election. So head to the Supreme Court where that can actually be done. Chief of Staff heads Akufo-Addo's transition team. NPP's Victor Newman passes on, sad one, there. But before you come in, that story we're talking about some bias in the media. I do feel, though, and I'm being blunt here, the newspapers we review day in, day out, some of them, I'm not mentioning any names, but and yes, I can because some of them are every day on one-sided papers. I've said it. Yeah, but some of them will not deny the fact that they are aligned. But yes, it points to some bias. They have some bias, just like Fox News. Yeah. And if you're aligned, it's not a bad thing, is it? No, it isn't. But I think even when you're aligned, you can practice whatever you do. Your journalism can be, even in an aligned way, it can still be objective. I mean, Fox News they are one of the first who called the election for Biden, for example. Well, let's do the Daily Guide, shall we? Front page of the Daily Guide, NDC gurus hunt for pink sheets. Kumasi Airport undergoes disinfection. Sixth opening trial witness discharged. That's how it looks like on the front page of the paper. Let's see if we can have some entertainment news in the center spread in that pullout. Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm not going back to P Square. That's Nigerian music star Peter Okoye, known as Mr. P. He's opened up on the possibility of the P Square band coming back together again. In a lengthy post on Instagram, he said anyone nursing the hope that P Square would unite again should better kill it and move on. He pointed out that nothing lasts forever, reminding P Square fans that other music groups such as Boys, Style Plus, Remedies also splits. Okay, so basically that. I don't know why people are still bothering them. Justin Timberlake, I think that was NSYNC. And then there was Cisco as well. Was it Drew Hill or something? There was even this all of those people came out and they did
Harry Styles. What's the name of the group again?
Which one?
There's a group where Harry Styles was part of it.
I wouldn't know that one. Oh, I'm a Latter-day Saint. This is actually Latter-day. This is not too long ago. Okay, well, yeah. So there are other stories there. Sad. But I hope it hasn't created a lot of frustration. No, I mean the split.
They don't have a great relationship. That's what it is.
I know, but I mean, I hope the tone of it, what you just read. Yeah. It almost sounds as though it's impacting the real relationship, as in the brothers.
Oh, they don't have a real relationship.
Well, I thought at some point there was a bit of even when
Masana, Charlie, the relationship died. That's
and
what
I
it
hear
is.
there are some, Kales behind it. What does it? Some women. Hey, anyway, let's do the new publisher. NDC guru curses EC boss. Bloody fight in Amenfi MPP, and members chased with cutlasses. Office vandalized, and we've seen pockets of these. Really sad, because in this instance, is it the MPP on the MPP? Mahama under pressure to concede. That story is on page 6. Let me quickly view the Ghanaian publisher as well. Ajanasare congratulates Akufo-Addo, asks Mahama to contest results peacefully. Toyota Ghana and Kukuroko Charities partner to save lives. Akufo-Addo won't fall below 50%. That's according to Bento Bako. Tells NDC to go to court with their evidence. All of this on the back of what has been happening, the rejection of the 2020 electoral results. Kennedy Japan warns incoming ministers, we won't tolerate or entertain any, but there appears to be a new word here, Mama B. Help me out.
Which one is that?
The Ghanaian publisher, Kennedy Japan warns incoming ministers, we won't entertain any arrogancy. That's a new one. Okay.
Do you want to Google it?
Nowadays, there are
You never know. Sometimes, yeah, exactly.
Arrogance, he says.
Maybe I never buy and share.
Seek redress in court if you're unhappy, Ursula advises Mahama. All right, let's check out some other papers.
Okay, so I was just going to leave the rest so we can do myjoyonline.com, seeing that we don't have a lot of time. So if you have one more paper, you can go ahead and do it.
No, what I do have are trends. So you can actually do My Joy Online, and then we'll check out, trends.
Okay.
But apparently, we just might have some more time on our hands. So let's do the Ghanaian Observer. Election 2020, go to court if you disagree. Bring on fresh blood into parliamentary leadership. Governance experts tell MPP and NDC. And some have been touting Professor, my former head of department at the Political Science Department in the University of Ghana. Some have been touting him as their best, Speaker of Parliament. Some of those who are leaving.
Who's that, Michael Quay?
Yes.
Professor Michael Quay? Okay, well.
And the Economy Times, banks face negative outlook amidst difficult operating conditions. That's according to a report. Government searches for transaction advisors for $5 billion Eurobond. I guess we've become very accustomed to this bond and that bond and this bond and that bond. And what business can expect in 2021? So it's a wrap for me with regard to the headlines.
Okay, there's a story on page 52, and kindly get the BBC page for me. There's a story developing in Nigeria, some kidnap situation that I want us to get updated with. So we'll go to myjoyonline.com, but let's do page 52 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. It's on gender, and the paper puts the spotlights on daughters who have stepped in their father's political shoes. The first really is Zanato Ajiman Rollins, the Klote Kole Member of Parliament. She's retained the seat in this election. Elizabeth Ofuswe-Jare, Techima North, also says not much was known or heard about her in the political circles until in 2013, when she was appointed Minister for Tourism, Culture, Creative Arts under John Dramani Mahama's administration. She's the daughter of the late Isaac Kwejo Ejay Mensah, who also won the parliamentary seat for the Techima North constituency between 1996 and 2003. The next one is Dahua Newman. Let's see. Dahua Newman keenly followed the exploits of her father, a founder, a member of the NPP, Mr. Victor Newman. And the last one is Sheila Batel Sam, Ablekuma North Member of Parliament. Let's see her roots. Okay. Yeah, so that's a daughter of Mr. Kwame Batel's, but I just wanted to read exactly what the paper was saying, except that I may have to read a bit longer. Okay, so let's see. She goes to Parliament as second generation of the Batel's nuclear family to represent the Ablekuma North constituency. Despite the huge influence of her father in both the party and in the constituency, Mrs. Batel Sam, an entrepreneur, did not win on a silver platter, but used her great organizational skills to her advantage. So 4 persons, really, who are stepping into their father's shoes, as the paper highlights. It's a good thing.
Interesting. Going back to the before era, very interesting perspective there. And so I did a quick check on that word, arrogancy.
Okay.
And apparently, while it exists, yes, it exists. So I'm eating humble pie here.
And now
it exists, but it's not one that is used often or profit. So that is it on that bit. But let me quickly maybe check out some of our Twitter trends for today, right before we check out the rest. Ashaiman is trending, and it's not pleasant. The people of Ashaiman are demanding fairness and transparency. Let our votes count. It's from a supposed demonstration that took place there. And some scenes, you might want to check out the trends. But as we captured it, Stonebwoy rode to a polling station to vote in Ashaiman in style. He was on this, You want to see it? This is.
No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see
it.
A bit of a bike situation. Then there's Arteta, Arsenal's coach. He's trending because, Charlie, the team keeps losing. And
is it the players or is it him?
I can't really tell. Maybe this should summarize it for you. When you come to Arsenal, which is at number 1 on the Twitter trends today, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has scored more goals for opposition teams, 1, than he has for Arsenal at the Emirates this season. I think that summarizes the story.
So you say there's arrogancy, right?
Yes, apparently. But it's not commonly.
But there is.
Oh, there is.
Okay.
Oh, I've eaten humble.
So, okay, so let's bring you something that your election headquarters also placed in the Mirror. Here we go. We're just going to put it out there and read it. So this was in the Mirror. Thank you for the privilege to serve you with a comprehensive coverage of election 2020. Hashtag thankful hearts, gratitude, Aseda. Election HQ. We are your election headquarters. It's been awesome this year, really. And I think that the confidence that the people have in us, at some point, you know, when people hear things, even when the political parties have said something, they want to come back to election headquarters and they want to ask you what really is the position.
I mean
it's just...
Other media houses were putting things out there, and you see people still coming to our platforms to confirm whether those things that the other media houses were putting out there were actually true. That tells you, but it's also quite a burden that we have then, an onus, a responsibility, and we try our hardest. Yesterday on The Probe, it was very interesting how we broke down the issues. Still people were bashing, but at least we showed you that we're very above the board with what we did.
Okay, so 3 things that I want to share with you. One is what former President John Dramani Mahama has posted on his Facebook page. This was about some 8 hours ago. We're going to put it on the screen and read it so you know you can. This is it. Together with Nana Jane and our families, we joined the Ringway Assemblies of God Church for fellowship earlier today, which was on Sunday. And check this out. He that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whoever trusts in the Lord, happy is he. Proverbs 16:20. Does he say something to you? Well, that's the latest that we have in terms of what he is probably thinking or what he wants to do. You can break it down in your own ways. We've told you about how Sam Kwanchi has made a call, is calling on President Akufo-Addo to give John Dramani Mahama a call, let them sit down and have a conversation, also asking that he takes some people from the NDC into his administration. So we'll see how this one goes. The other one is in Nigeria. This is sad. It brings back memory of the Chibok girls. But there's been a kidnap situation in Nigeria. Security forces searching for abducted Nigerian schoolboys. Let's see if I can get the full story and read at least a line for you. And this is being picked from the BBC. It says hundreds of boys are still missing from gunmen abducted from their boarding school in northern Nigeria on Friday night. Anxious parents gathered at the school waiting for news as the security forces continue to search a forest area outside the town of Kankara to try to locate them. About 800 pupils were enrolled at the all-boys school. Armed groups often kidnap people for ransom in northwestern Nigeria. So far, the gunmen have not made any demands. So that's the situation in Nigeria with the kidnapping. I think there was, after the Chibok girls, there was another kidnapping in 2018.
There have been a number of kidnappings, actually.
Yeah, but they say, you know, the Chibok girls we know was the Islamic group, right? But they say there are other kidnappings where they ask for ransom, and they suspect that this is one of those, except that
this time they've not asked.
They haven't, exactly. Nothing has
Which
come
makes
up.
it even more precarious, because when they go silent like that, you don't know, and you're afraid, I mean, for the lives of the people who have been kidnapped.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to share with you is also something that's, you know, recently just came up. So, you know, the use of doctor when you are when you've done academic research and you've earned the title.
So basically a doctor of letters rather than a medical doctor.
Thank you. There's somebody who's been writing in the Wall Street Journal about Joe Biden's wife. You know, she's Dr. Joe Biden. Yeah. She's a teacher in a community college.
And she enjoys
she uses because she's going to be teaching even as First Lady. And he's written like a lengthy article talking about how if you haven't delivered a baby, for instance, you can be called a doctor. So you have to be like a medical professional to be called a doctor, and urging her to drop the name. And there are people who are giving it to him on Twitter, for instance. The one that I love, coming from Hillary Clinton, who says that her name is Dr. Jill Biden. Get used to it.
I mean, I think here in our part of the world, we get too fussy over titles and the rest. But you notice that a lot of them, they like to be referred to just by their names. But of course, when it comes to maybe written form, then you would see, for example, Mama V. Owusu-Aboagye. Receive it, PhD.
Yes.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing what time it is. That's just the way.
Yeah, but
a lot of them don't even.
Yeah, but if you've gone to school, listen, if you've studied for it, you've gone through everything, Masa, you are entitled to use it the way you want to.
How about those in our system who receive it on an honorary level and Charlie, they will insist.
If it was one of those, I guess, yeah. I mean, because you're not really, it's not like you're entitled to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one, Charlie, she's earned it. And somebody made the comment that if it was a man, would somebody write this article about a man? Okay, well, that's it for the review.
That guy has issues. He has issues.
You have to go to myjoyonline.com. We've got plenty of news. There's Champions League round of 16 draw later today. Oreko Ampofo has got all the matches played over the weekend. And then, of course, local games as well. And then he will talk about the Champions League. Stay with us.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreko Ampofo. It was indeed a wonderful weekend of sport in action, including Ghana Premier League, where we did see both Asante Kotoko and Heartoffolk win the first games of the season. For Heartoffolk, they thrashed Dreams FC at the Accra Sports Stadium by 3-0 in what was the first game which saw Costa Papic stand on the sidelines directing affairs. Let's check out the highlights of the game.
It's Issa. Razak goes past Issa. Patrick Razak. Obin Jr. So that's Kwejo Obin Jr.
There is a lovely counter-attacking football. Obin Jr. just pushes it into the path of Patrick Razak, who's got the pace to get past his man and set his strike partner up. He didn't know second invitation on the first time of asking with his left foot. Generates enough power and precision to beat the goalkeeper. Amwa, who was never lovely.
He scored twice against Ashanti Gold. And it's Eric Prempeh has brought the first half to an end here at the Accra Sports Stadium. Corner. Manaf bends it inside. Obin Jr. That's the second goal for Hatsabok. Michel Sapon has his name on the score sheet. The Phobians.
Now it's a mountain for them to climb. Lovely shape on the cross as it comes in from the corner.
Obin Jr. had a head on it.
Yeah, got a head on it. He came off the Dreams FC defender and fell right into the path of Michel Sapon, who from that range just never.
Victor Joe, Emmanuel Okran, Abel Manomi, Kande Puwanie, Dentani. How did he miss from here? It's a 3-on-2. Manaf to Obin Jr. Obin gets into the box, sends a cross. Patrick Razak was lurking and waiting. Afutu gets ahead, and it's a third goal for Hatsabok. Michel Sapon, he gets the brace, and the third for Hatsabok.
Into the back of the net from here. And even though it was close range, he was still so precise with the header, heading into the bottom corner where the goalkeeper was no way going to get to that. And it's game. I told you, well, that was some skill.
Eric Prempeh.
Well, that was Hartlepool scoring 3 goals, 3 points, the first win of the season for the Phobians and the new coach Costa Papic. Well, let's now head on to the phone lines to speak to a coach who's had so much experience on the Ghana Premier League, and we'll be reviewing some of the action from match day 5 and looking at the season so far. Coach J.E. Sapon, it's a pleasure to have you. Good morning. First of all, let me talk to you about the season in general. 5 match days. What have been some observations that you've made, and what has stood out to you so far?
Good morning to your listeners this morning. I trust everybody is well in the studio. Well, it has been so exciting from day one of the league. You know, for me, there's been vast improvement in the way the organization is going and the way players are getting. Of course, some teams are not having it easy, but it is normal. It is normal for teams that are not picking up. For want of words, I would say perhaps their preseason didn't go well with them. Definitely they will struggle. So as they play, they use that one as their preseason. So for me, as of now, I would say it has been very exciting, and they need to be commended.
But Coach Sapon, if you look at the Premier League and what we've seen so far, Hartlepool and Asante Kotoko recorded their first wins after 5 match days. Now, if you look at a little bit of history, the last time that this happened in the Ghana Premier League was 11 months ago. Is it a case of the 2 big giants not performing up to their usual standard, or is it a case of the smaller or lower teams catching up with them?
Well, these 2 teams are beacons of our football. So anytime they start struggling, you know, it affects the league. The league doesn't become excited again. But it's normal. Big teams normally struggle, sometimes struggle at the beginning of a season. And Kotoko and Hearts are not different from what we have been seeing all over the world. But at least picking up these points, and I see, interestingly enough, when Kotoko won on Friday, has also won on Sunday. You see, telling you that these 2 teams are always at their competitive nerve. You know, so for me, I think it's a good results that were churned out. But has a folk result, I didn't think it would be so marginal, it would be so big. You know, I was thinking they were struggling, but at least there's a turnover. And the 3-0 was so emphatic that I think going along again is a challenge to Kotoko, who are also very naive in front of goal, not able to score. So let's see how the league goes this midweek. Let's see how it goes again before Sunday. We'll see where we start from again.
Okay, Coach, and another occurrence that we've seen this season is the fact that after 39 games, we've seen just 3 away victories. But if you do look at the trend, we had to wait up until match day 4 before we saw our first away victory, and then there were a couple more in the past match day. Is it something that is out of the ordinary for you, or you think things will get back to normal? And what do you think is possibly causing the team's lack of vow and purposefulness up front when they do travel away, and that's probably why they are failing to pick up points on the road?
These are measures that were put in place by the Ghana Football Association to make sure that the league becomes exciting. In the years that we've played this league, we've seen teams always winning at home by devious ways, unless we put quote and unquote, in devious ways, trying to buy matches to win matches at home. But the breed of coaches, the breed of referees that we have, and the measures put in place by the Ghana Football Association, you can now go away and win comfortably without any hitches, without any intimidation. So that also has brought that excitement to the game. This time, you go, and if you prepare well, you win. The team that wins is the ground that decides, not the referee. Your performance decides whether you are winning or not winning. So for me, the measures that have been put in place by the referee are very commendable.
Okay. Before we go, Coach, one last thing on Kerala United. Before the season was truncated, We saw that Karela almost close to the relegation zone. It's been just 2 more months and they've come back a new season and they're now on top after match day 5. Is this something that you see them sustaining and going all the way? Or who do you think would topple them to winning the trophy this season from what you've seen so far this season?
Money is the blood of everybody. Money tells it all. And don't forget that GNPC has come to the aid of Karela. They've given them a bath. They've given them an AstroTurf pack. They've kitted them. And then I don't know whether they pay their bonuses. But that has prepared Karela to this level. And they have a coach who is also tried and tested. Evans Adoti. And then Bugri is also tried and tested. But of course, there's a saying in Akan that if a snake bites you and you see a roundworm, you run away. The snake beat Karela in the truncated league, and now when they see the worm, they are running away. So they are now to put up their cards in order to be able to be at the top there, either to fall in the rank of the first four. You see, so I think that is propelling them. They have people, an organization that is backing them financially. So with the financial cloud, they are at home. It's a team to beat this season.
Thank you very much, Coach J.E. Sapon. He's a very experienced manager. And just run the rule on what we've seen so far in the Ghana Premier League and what would possibly be occurring with the possible future and, short and long term. Looking at Karela United, what a sensation they've been this season, still unbeaten and are top of the league.
So this 7th Parliament is reconvening today, December 17. But we know that lots of the MPs, as we see them today, 111 of them will not be going back in the 8th Parliament. Well, 2 of them have joined us. One isn't going back, not because he lost in this particular election. In fact, he did not make it through the primaries of his party, which meant that he could not even stand for this particular election. He is out. I'm not sure if it's for good. He served 3 terms already. Mr. Seth Kwame Champon is MP for Mpraeso, serves as the chair of this defense committee of this parliament. And then also Alhassan Suhuyini, congratulations to you. You retain the seat, which means you're going to do a 2nd term. You'll be in the 8th Parliament. Can I say good morning to both?
Thank you very much, Mama. Good morning to any of the viewers.
Great. So, before we come into the matters of Parliament, I just want to ask for your initial comments about the aftermath of the December 7 elections. Alhassan Suhuyini, your party has not accepted the outcome of this election, and we've seen that there are quite a number of protests ongoing. How would you say, in terms of where we are today with your party's position? Bring it all together for us.
Well, our party's position is that all legitimate options to reject the announcement that was carried out by the Electoral Commissioner are still on the table. And so we are currently, if you like, in the process of organizing and discussing and organizing, on which particular legitimate, course of action to take, or there are various, legitimate actions that we can take. So we are basically looking at which one will best serve the interests of the party, the party's position at this point. And the party's position is that we reject the results that was announced by the Electoral Commission. I mean, subsequent to the announcement, we have all seen, even without even being convinced by the NDC, a number of things that seem to suggest that we have every reason to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the results that was announced by the Electoral Commissioner. So where we stand is that all legitimate options that can be used to support and reject the results that have been announced by the Electoral Commission will be used. as a party.
So are you going to court or not?
All legitimate options are on the table.
You know, we still haven't had a definite answer to that question, if you're going to go to court.
That's a definite answer, unless you are suggesting that going to court is not a legitimate option.
So you're going to go to court?
At this stage, all legitimate options are on the table.
Do you find it worrying, though? Do you think that the supporters of your party understand what's going on? Because we've had some comments from some of them, you know, throughout this protest. And I wonder if you find some of the commentary worrying and you feel that perhaps they don't understand where we are in this process.
I will not know which one you are referring to. I think that our supporters clearly understand what is at stake. They know the Electoral Commission announced fictitious results, and they also know that the NPP is currently encroaching on the majority of the NDC. It is through their vigilance and their support that some of even our seats were saved. And so they understand basically what is going on. I do not know in particular what exactly you heard, which gives you this impression that our supporters do not know where we are in the struggle. We are in the struggle with them, and every step of the way they have been part of it. And through their vigilance, they have, you know, helped to even chalk a number of successes. So I am in no doubt that the party supporters, rank and file, are fully aware of where we are and what our position is. And our position is that we are unable to accept the results that was announced by the Electoral Commissioner. And whatever legitimate means can be used to, you know, make that position known and to possibly cause a reversal of that announcement, we are open to that, you know, legitimate means.
Great. So if you're using all legitimate means, why the protest then? Or is it part of the strategy?
Why, Mama V? Are protests not legitimate anymore in this country? Since when did we bar protest in this country?
But if you're going to go to courts, you say that you're going to go to courts. So I thought the battle will be fought in the courts.
I didn't say we are going to court. I said all legitimate means are open to us to use, all of them, including court, including demonstrations, including protests, all of them. They are legitimate means. That's why we are telling you that all legitimate means are on the table. And if you choose one to be legitimate and make one illegitimate, that would be, you know, unfair to anybody who chooses whichever option that he thinks at a particular time will serve whatever interest that he is seeking. So all legitimate means, and protests are part of legitimate means. So if you find our supporters protesting, that is one legitimate means that they have chosen to use to make known the position of the party.
Let me bring in your colleague, Mr. Seth Kwame Acheampong. What do you make of what has happened in the aftermath of the December 7 elections?
Good morning to you, Mama V, once again, and to my colleague Suhuyini. Let me congratulate him for his re-election to the 8th Parliament. And I think that we should all be aware that typically after every competitive contest, opinions vary. And I am not taken aback by the posture and position of my competitors from the NDC. They don't understand the results and they think they would contest the results. It is in their civic rights to contest the results. So we all observe how to go about it. I'm sure they are laid down in going. And I have been following the narrative, and he is reiterating saying by every legitimate means. I'm sure all legitimate. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't seem to have a great connection to Mr. Seth Acheampong. We'll try and see if you can either reposition yourself, or let's see what we can do about that. Whilst we correct that, though, I still have Mr. Alhassan Suhuyini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North. I didn't quite say congratulations to you. So now that we're coming into the parliamentary matters proper, let me say congratulations to you for retaining the seats.
But before you move on, after I've congratulated them, I want to really understand the government of the rejection. Is it the presidential results or the entire exercise that the Electoral Commission undertook? I want Suhuyini to offer me some elucidation in respect of the rejection.
Yes, if I'm permitted to come in at this stage, yes, our contestation is over the presidential results. And of course, some parliamentary results as well. So it is not just, one issue. We have issues with the presidential results, and we also have some issues with some of the parliamentary seats. And we have every ground to support we have every evidence to support our issues. And so day by day, we will use whichever means that is legitimate and suitable at that time to, prove our case and support our case.
Satisfied, Mr. Champong?
I think he's giving me the indication. I let's wait and see how it all turns out.
Okay. All right, Mr. Suhuyini. So I wanted us to talk about this house. Let me not even just address this to you, to the two of you. 111 of the MPs we see today will not be back. In fact, there aren't 275. There are 273 because we know that we lost one MP in the MP for Mfantsiman. And then the Fomena MP who was also suspended, who was asked not to return, after the break. So we have 273 of you. 111 will not be going back to the 8th Parliament. What's your reaction to that? That's a huge number.
Well, Mamavi, it's huge. And sometimes, as at the personal level, it is humbling that one has the opportunity to be part of the 8th Parliament. But when you look at the bigger picture, you begin to wonder how the 8th Parliament is going to look like. Yes, there are still a number of very experienced people within the 8th Parliament, but you cannot miss the fact that we are going to lose very seasoned, members of Parliament who over the years have become very versatile in the art of lawmaking and have helped to carry the House along as far as its duties and responsibilities to the state is concerned. You cannot help but notice that it is going to have a huge impact on, business of Parliament. And if I can use myself as an example, my first Parliament was a learning process for me. I mean, I was quite daring. I tried a number of things, and I can just imagine that majority of people are going to have to be in my state when we have that 8th Parliament. And with the experienced people I had in the 7th Parliament still guiding me, it wasn't easy. I mean, with the many experienced people I had still guiding me, it wasn't easy because Parliament is a whole. I mean, it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what you have done before in this life. When you get to Parliament, you have to learn. I mean, it's a whole institution on its own, with its own laws, with its own way of doing things, and you have to learn. And so I am just imagining how I had to struggle, even with so many experienced, members of Parliament willing to help and willing to guide, how the people who will be on the 8th Parliament and will be coming to Parliament for the first time will have to cope when we have less number of experienced people to guide them. I don't consider myself experienced yet, and so it's going to be, quite difficult, supporting the team of experienced members of Parliament to guide the rest who will be in Parliament for the first time. But we'll do our bit. We will try. But for example, you look at the fact that we are going to miss Bagbin, on Alban Sumana Bagbin on our side. We are going to miss Joseph Yilechre on our side. We are going to miss Inusa Fuseni on our side. I mean, these are people who have become like the institution itself, and they understand the workings of Parliament and know how everything works in that house, and they are not going to be around anymore. So if you come to legislation, for example, I mean, Yilechre is an institution. I mean, both the majority and the minority side defer to him in matters of legislation and all that. And he has also shown a lot of interest in that. So Parliament is going to suffer. I mean, the work of Parliament is going to suffer for a while. We just hope that those of us who are there will be able to learn fast and support the experienced ones who are already there.
Mr. Champong, after midnight 6th of January, you won't go back to Parliament. I know that you've had time to reflect as you lost the primaries in your party, but has it all come together for you now? Are you used to the idea that after midnight 6th of January, you're not going back to Parliament?
Mama, that is the reality. I have no choice but to live with the reality. I would not get that opportunity because I have paid my due, and I must thank the good people of Mpraiso for offering me that opportunity.
Okay, there we go with your connection again. I'm not sure. Something is happening today. We don't have a great connection to you. Maybe we should change the means. Let's try something else and see if we can figure this out. You're still watching the AM show. This is our AM Talk, where we're talking mainly about this Parliament, the 7th Parliament that's reconvening today. But we know that it will be dissolved midnight 6th of January and make way for the next Parliament, which will be the 8th under this Republic, this 4th Republic. My guest, Alhassan Suhuyini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North, and Seth Kwame Champong, Member of Parliament for Empire. So Seth Champong has been in Parliament for 3 terms, but that's the end of the road for him. Mr. Champong, okay, so we've tried to reach you, through another means now. You joined this Parliament in 2008. This is your 3rd term, really. Are you going back? Is this retirement for you, or you come back again?
No, I'm not retiring from politics. But I haven't made up my mind whether I would want to go back to politics. But I'll still be in politics, and I'll be serving my political party and my government in any capacity that is appropriate. However, like I said earlier, this is the reality. I didn't make it at the primary, and I must continue to serve in any way that I find useful and helpful to, first and foremost, my country, my political party, the New Patriotic Party, and myself. And I will say that with what my colleague Suhuyini said, I will come with the attrition rate of Parliament. You'll be surprised that the people I entered Parliament with in 2009, in this 8th Parliament, not more than 15 of them will still be there. I think 15 is even a perfect number. In my region of Eastern Region, where I came from in the Eastern Region, we left with 4. Honorable Damboche, Honorable Obiamwa, Honorable Atachia, Honorable Kwabna Amankwe Siama. These are the only 4 who are returning to the 8th Parliament. At the outset, we were more than 16, but now this is the number we have. So it tells you and speaks to the attrition rate in Parliament. That aside, I would continue to say that in this exercise, it is a matter of choice. Who the people choose to lead them is who they permit and allow to lead them. And the institution of Parliament year on suffers. However, it adjusts. We're still going to have some experience and being retained in the House. The majority leader, the Honorable Ofeche Mensah, who is doing his 7th term in office, the Honorable Katie Amond and Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, who are doing their 5th term. And the 5th terms are the Honorable Haruna Idris, the minority leader, and the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader, the Honorable James Kluge Abedi, as well as Mubarak Muntaka. These are all in leadership, and they are going to be there. And we come to the majority side, we're going to have the Honorable Chairman, Akwesi Chairman, who I entered Parliament, so this is doing his 4th term. We have Benito Usubio, Akwesi Jensi, and Kwame Esiama, all doing their 5th term. And these are coming from the Ashanti region. In the Eastern region, we don't have any. It was left with Ofari and San, he's gone. In the Bronga Hafo, we had Professor Jambafo. But in the Ashanti region, we are losing some great minds who are not coming back to the House again. The great Honorable Dr. Akoto Osei, our economist, very fine gentleman, good legislator, very knowledgeable. These are great minds that we are losing from the 8th Parliament, and a leader who really would indulge you to learn and understand from him. I mean, you'll be under his feet and he'll guide you. I enjoyed working with him on the Finance Committee in my first term in Parliament, and he shaped me up well for my journey in Parliament. Unfortunately, I doubled up with him on the Defense and Interior Committee, where he really made immense contribution that added on to my eventual leadership of the committee. And so these are great minds that I would never forget. And I believe that Ghana is losing fine minds, but Ghana is also poised to produce good minds, who I hope they will heed to the counsel offered by my colleague Suyini, that Parliament is an institution of its own. It has its own culture, it has its own norms. And any person that walks into Parliament, you must walk into Parliament with a mind that you are going to learn, and learn in an institution that you have no knowledge of. It does not respect you from being a professor coming from academia, from a university, or either as a managing director to an institution, a bank, or an insurance company, where we play with finance. The operations and the practices in Parliament is so unique that every person who is entering Parliament must enter with the position that they are going to learn, and they learn by the day. And if you take it serious, you become a very good practitioner in the House, and you'll be respected by your peers.
Okay,
this
great.
will be my counsel to all of us.
Okay, just a quick one on this. Some people have said that, I know that some of the seats are still being contested, but as we know, what we know today, it's a very close gap. I mean, we don't have, like we do have now, where the majority has 169, minority has 109, I think. This one is rather very close. From the West, how Parliament operates, how difficult or easy is it going to be? Some people think that it's not going to be easy to reach a consensus on matters going forward.
You hit the nail right. Consensus building is the practice in Parliament. It does not necessarily matter the closeness of the ratio, which you alluded to, i.e. the numbers in either caucus, either in the majority caucus or in the minority caucus. Both are close. However, we build consensus in Parliament, and I know that we're going to continue in that spirit. Mind you, I was gladdened when I listened to His Excellency the President on his acceptance speech after he's been declared the winner of the 2020 poll. He intimated to us that Ghanaians have sent a clear message to the two traditions so far experienced in this fourth Republican dispensation, i.e. the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, that they expect us to work together for the development of this country. It is clear to every person and to everyone that we need each other to develop this country. And this is the message sent to us by the Ghanaian people. And don't forget, Parliament is the forum of the people. That is the people's market. If the people send us such a message, they're rather encouraging us to work together, build consensus for a healthy development of this country. Sometimes we may have entrenched positions, which is natural and typical. However, the objective is Ghana. That's why we all say Ghana first. And so we should all be guided by this spirit going into the 8th Parliament and ensure that at the end of the day, we take decisions and work in the interest of the Republic. I believe, my colleagues, we may differ in a lot of opinions, myself and Suyini, but at many times we come to an understanding in taking a decision for a healthy country. And that is the spirit I leave with this Parliament. And I know it will happen.
Okay.
I know we still got minds in there that understand the practice, that understand the need to ensure that we bond and work together. We may not necessarily be friends to agree on subject matters, but we all appreciate good stuff, and we need to work towards good things for Ghana.
Alassane Suyini, I'm minded by the fact that you're still contesting some of the seats, but we won't have 106 clearly and 169. The gap is pretty close now. How easy do you think it would be going forward in the 8th Parliament on consensus building?
You know, the talk of attrition rates reminded me of something. That again makes me humbled. After the 2016 general elections, I was one of 3 MPs your sister radio station invited to have a show, so they could perhaps measure what it was going to be like with the new members in Parliament. Unfortunately, 2 of them will not be going back. My very good friend, Dr. Okoboy, and George Anda. You know, we were set to be the new phase, if you like, of the 7th Parliament. That a lot was expected from us. Unfortunately, 2 of them won't be going back, like I said. And so it points to that attrition rate. And again, in my region, I think 5 of us were new MPs. Unfortunately, 4 haven't been retained, and that, you know, points to the attrition rate in Parliament, and how, you know, if you are not in it, sometimes you don't understand the concern for continuity. But yes, I know that people learn, and they are fast learners, and I'm sure that people who even have the experience don't have to continue to be in Parliament to impart that experience. Any member of Parliament who is interested in learning can still meet anybody anywhere, provided the person have had that experience before, and be guided by that experience. And Mama Bia, I would have also loved to refer to what the president said when he was declared based on the fictitious results of the Electoral Commission as the president-elect. But unfortunately, anybody who has followed the president in the last 4 years and want to be very fair and candid will tell you that he makes very good speeches. He says the right things many times. But unfortunately, actions that follow don't even seem to suggest that he understands the speeches before he reads them. You know, so I take it with a pinch of salt when he acknowledges, which is true, the fact that the Ghanaian people want the NDC and the NPP to work together. It is true, he acknowledged it, but based on his past deeds not matching his words, it's very difficult to take him seriously when he says so. So as a party, I think an example of how you cannot take him serious is that attempt by his party to even encroach on some, seats that were already declared in our favor and manipulate, the process to, annex seats that were already declared for the NDC. I mean, if he meant what he said, I'm sure he would have just understood that as a party, we have the majority. We may not also even be comfortable with our majority because it is that slim. And then perhaps we will see how together, if the fictitious election, results that was declared by the EC is what is to go by.
Alassane Suhuyini, you don't have a clear majority today, as has been declared by the Electoral Commission. You are contesting some of the seats, correct? But you don't have a clear majority, so you can't claim to have majority, can you?
Yes, I have said that there is a contest because there has been some needless controversies and needless attempts to encroach on our majority. And that is the point I'm making about how it is difficult to trust the president when he says one thing and does the other. And I'm saying that if he perhaps meant what he said, there wouldn't have been these, frantic efforts to encroach on seats that the NDC had, in the bag, and to use the military and use electoral, a very crooked, some, not all of them, some very crooked electoral commission workers to do all the things that we are seeing are being done. And you see, Mama B, maybe this will take me back to an earlier conversation that we had when we, as a party, say that all legitimate means are on the table. And there seemed to be an attempt to stampede us to take one legitimate means, which is going to court. I think we fail to see or understand the process of our elections. Even till date, the Electoral Commission is still amending its figures without being compelled by any court. We all see it. They have amended their website several times. They have added and taken out figures. You still have some of their workers in the various regions and districts still doing, corrections to what were already declared. In some cases, if you like, miscorrections, because needless corrections are being done. But at this stage, the Electoral Commission is still working, and the Electoral Commission is still improving on what it has. So it is not as if the Electoral Commission cannot do anything about what it declared. The Electoral Commissioner declared the results on the 9th, and on the 10th, it amended it. So why do we think on the 14th or 15th, it cannot amend it? It didn't need a court directive on the 9th to amend, on the 10th to amend what it announced on the 9th. So it is just for all of us to point to the infractions when we see them and be bold about it and insist.
Just a quick one on this, but they've said that the changes that they made did not affect the figures. So it really doesn't change the outcome of the election. That's a position that they've defended strongly.
And Mama V, this is where I miss media activism. Not media reportage, media activism. So if they say it didn't change their figures, is that accurate?
What were you expecting that the media would do?
Media activism. I was expecting that media activism that will hold the Electoral Commission to account for its actions. So you have declared results. First of all, why the rush to declare results that you need to amend in 24 hours? Explain to us, why did you have to do that? Because you don't owe the Ghanaian people, like Madam Charlotte Osei said in the past, fast results. What you owe them is accurate results. So why the rush to declare results you have to amend in less than 24 hours? That's media activism. Also let them, okay, so the amendment does not change the figures. Is that accurate? What were the figures announced? The amendment, what is the impact of it? Is what you are telling us really true? What is the valid vote cast? Where did you get that figure? But instead, somehow, it is as if the NDC has a case, go fight it. We are just reporting. And I'm saying that's where I miss media activism.
Alasasini, have you been monitoring our network at least? Because that's the question that we've asked many times. Indeed, on Newsfile on Saturday, Dr. Srebo Kweko, Director of Elections at the Electoral Commission, was on the show, and Samson asked all these questions, these issues that you're raising.
I know, I understand. That's why I am differentiating between media reporting and media activism. I'm sure you know the difference. The fact that the media reports an issue is not enough. When the media wants to make a change, it just doesn't report the issues. It engages in activism. I agree. You agree? There's media activism and there's media reportage.
Okay.
I mean, the media can report the matters, but the media can set an agenda with the matter. We notice the Electoral Commission change its figures in the Eastern region. We want to know why, and we want to get it corrected.
Just a final
from just reporting and asking them to explain and letting it go.
So just a final one on this, and I have to bring Seth Champon into this. When you say there's an attempt to stampede for you to have only one legitimate means in overturning the result as has been declared, which is to go to court, I'm tempted to ask, won't courts bring closure to this matter?
Of course. I mean, there are many other ways that we can bring closure to this matter, and the court is one other way. But there are many other ways. So that's why perhaps your question again leads me to the impression I am saying is being created as if there's an attempt to stampede us to choose only the court option that can bring closure.
Okay.
Any other, legitimate means can bring closure to the matter.
Okay, so that's clear enough. Seth Champon, I want to raise the issue of the fact that 5 persons have died in this process that was supposed to be peaceful, and 17 of them have been injured. And this is the Election Task Force reporting. This is clearly disappointing. We have failed in terms of a peaceful election, haven't we?
Thank you very much, Mama V. As I go ahead to agree with you that it is quite very sadly to realize that we've lost life through this very peaceful exercise we just held as a people. It saddens me. However, the onus lies on us, leadership, who incite our followers to do some of these things. It is not justifiable. In as much as I do not, and I condemn the life lost, and I would say here on that I wish to express my sympathies and condolences to the bereaved families through your medium. I would also admonish leadership in everywhere in Ghana to live as expected role model and not just misguide and mislead people into us having such difficulty. An exercise in one demonstrating the franchise as to who they prefer in respect of choice to lead them in any area of government of our country should not end up in that spirit. That said, let me come back to my colleagues' reunion.
Before you come back, can we just stay on this? What's the latest beyond just announcing that there's an investigation ongoing? I mean,
certainly, as you know, crime investigation would lead us into making sure we offer redress. So the police service is seriously at the matter. The president has asked and requested them to ensure that this comes up quickly, because we wouldn't want to travel into the next administration with any matter lying unattended to. And I understand that they are seriously working at it. And definitely we will find out for call for more information. And this behavior is very much unacceptable. And I pray that we don't experience these things going forward. Everybody must accept and understand that in a competition, one would win, one would lose. However, I'm not saying that people should use illegitimate means to win. I understand and I speak from a position of legitimacy and clear, no mishandling or underhandling of issues. I dare say that this is not the Ghana we all pray for, and as part 11, we've done this 8 times, and let us live up to the 8th responsibility and do things better. Year on, we have peaceful elections, and this year has also been seen as a very peaceful exercise. And let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Electoral Commission. For the first time since I started voting and getting elected, this is the food that I have realized that we've had less congestion. There's no congestion at all. There was no congestion. And so they really planned it well. They executed it appropriately.
Yeah, but Mr. Champon, does that all matter now when you've recorded the kind of incident that we've recorded with 5 people dying?
It really matters, Mama V. It really matters.
Doesn't it mar the beauty of the entire process?
If you're doing an analysis and you're doing a fair analysis, you look at the global picture. Yes, we have 1, 2 incidents that are despicable, but that do not negate the entirety of the good work done by the state institution.
Okay, so we have to wrap up. So I'll just give you a little time to move on to the area that you wanted to go to, just real quick.
Sure, thank you very much. My only point to Al-Hassan is that all of us are statesmen, and he can express his opinion and his dislike about what the president said. But to say that the president did not understand the text before him, I think it begs the question, and he knows the proper thing to do. I don't think we need to be at that language. I don't take that language from him as clean. It should not go from him to a senior state person. We all aspire to grow and to serve our public, and that is very, very begging the question. And Suyini, I think you can do better, and I understand you, and I know you can do better. To say the president does not understand the text before him is not proper. It's not proper.
Well,
yes, you may not agree. You may not agree with what you may agree with what he said, but you may have concerns over his actions. But to say he does not understand the text before him, I think it is not in the right way.
Okay.
Like for instance, if you say a fictionalized result, that's your opinion. I don't have to bother myself coming after you on that because hey, that's your opinion. I can. But when the president is giving a clear indication, and for me, for the first time, a very conciliatory acceptance statement from a sitting president, we should not just throw that away with such description.
Okay.
And let us encourage ourselves. So, really, I'm happy when I talked about attrition rate. You demonstrated a lot of relationship to that statement. This is the way we can build Ghana. And I think that it is incumbent upon us who have been given the opportunity to demonstrate change in all our actions. And you know me, and you know how I'll put it across. I think we need to ensure that we use the right language for the following release.
Okay,
so that subsequently they would also imbibe in what principles we employ. And
all right, Mr. Champon,
as a country.
Thank you very much, but we'll have to leave it here. Al-Hassan Suyini, just quick reaction on this, and then I'll just bounce a message that I've received of you.
You know, honestly, I am shocked at Honorable Achampon's concerns over my assessment of what I see to be true. I talked about the fact that the president's actions and speeches don't match, and I can list a number of them. I mean, I don't
think that's what he has a problem with necessarily, but when you specifically say that,
I am saying when you're listen, Mama B, I'm saying that. You see, I haven't even used any derogatory, if you like, adjective to describe him, like incompetence. I haven't done that. I haven't. All I'm saying is that when you check his actions and you match it against the script he reads, it suggests to me that he doesn't understand the script he reads. I have not even used any derogatory adjective like incompetence on him. I haven't. Okay. I've only pointed to how inconsistent the speeches, the fine speeches he reads, are with the actions that he undertakes. Okay, that's what I've done. So I'm surprised that he finds it offensive. But
just a final one. Just a final one. Just a final one on this issue. I know that we've been on it for a while, but I've just been reminded to remind you that the court is the only place. The court is the only place where an election, as has been declared, can be overturned. So maybe the focus should be on the courts if you truly want to overturn what has been declared.
I think that whoever sent you that has not followed the proceedings. Like I am saying, the Electoral Commission announced figures on the 9th and amended it on the 10th. The Techiman Saf, returning officer, there have been some movements there. You go to almost all our constituencies that are being contested, and the Electoral Commission is still working and still doing figures.
But isn't that different? Yes. Isn't that different from declaring somebody president and that's being gazetted? That's not something that
been gazetted. Yeah. It hasn't been gazetted.
But it hasn't been gazetted. So you're saying that because it hasn't, it's easy for them to come back and say, well, we declared Akufo-Addo president.
They have proven to us that they have made mistakes and have come back to correct them, haven't they? They have proven to us that they have made mistakes even in their collation, in their declaration, and have come back to correct them. So why do we think they can't do that when all these corrections that they have done at different levels point to the need for them to amend the presidency?
Okay.
We are not afraid of going to the court, but we will not be stampeded to choose it as the only legitimate means.
All right.
All we are saying is that all legitimate means will be used. But Mama B, I wish you could let me just comment on the death.
Just 30 seconds because I have to go.
Just a sentence. Mama B, I was scandalized when I heard the president refer to 5 deaths, including an 18-year-old boy and a 39-year-old, as few deaths. Few deaths. I was scandalized. At the time that he had been announced, president-elect, and in his speech, he referred to these 5 deaths as few deaths. And I thought to myself, is that how much he loved the presidency more than the people who are dying as a result of that election? I think he could have done better, and he can still do better by providing justice to these innocent lives that, were lost as a result of obeying the Constitution.
Alhassan
Obeying the Constitution.
I thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you for helping us with this analysis. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. He's Member of Parliament for Tamale North. He's retained his seat. So this will be his 2nd term in Parliament. My other guest, Seth Kwame Champong, MP for Mpraia. So this is his 3rd term in Parliament. Unfortunately, he couldn't go through into this election because he lost in his party's primaries. So we're not sure if this is the end of the road for him. He hasn't decided yet, he says, but he's still very much in politics. That's it for AM Talk. We will still stay in Parliament and talk about the new faces that we'll be seeing. Our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, is right here. And Benjamin Akapo will be engaging him on this matter, so stay with us.
Well, welcome on the 2nd leg of the conversation as we discourse on those members of Parliament who are new to the august House. The dynamics very interesting, and we're going to be delving into them. We're going to look a bit at some of the casualties who have had to cede their places for new members of Parliament to come in. The dynamics are very interesting. But let me welcome aboard Joseph Opoku Gakpo.
How are you doing?
I'm very well.
I think this is the first time my paths are crossing on this platform.
On the AM show,
I'm telling you.
We've done Zoom before.
Zoom. But it's never like...
It's never the same.
In person and
never the same. I've done stuff with another Joe, Akabele.
Okay.
This is the first time we're going toe-to-toe on the show. And it's all about the new entrants in Parliament. First of all, even before we get into the conversation, as our parliamentary correspondent, as the man who's on the beat when it comes to Parliament, and with your institutional knowledge, you know, of the august house, some of the casualties, did you see them coming?
To a very large extent, particularly in this election, and I've made this point before, that after what we saw in the NPP primary itself, with a lot of the very big fishes and big names losing in the NPP primary that unfolded sometime earlier this year, I'm not surprised about any of those sitting MPs who ended up losing their seats, because then following that, then I was under the impression, looks like the ordinary voter is a bit more sophisticated now, and people are paying more attention to the regular issues that they had paid attention to. Eventually, I wasn't surprised about how things turned out. How Dr. Bernardo Koboy, regardless of what he did, that's one of the things that's
a savage constituency. 4 years and no more. You know, just today I was watching some video that had been compiled about the young member of parliament, deputy minister of health, and some of the things he had done in the hope that he would be able to retain the seat. But you listen to the people on the back of the election, and it appears it was still not enough.
It's interesting. I get the sense that people of Lejokuku just want to maintain their track record, that as frequently as possible, they don't allow any individual to actually win the seat a second term. The other one that actually surprised me was how Peter Amewu managed to grab the Hohoi seat.
Did it come as a surprise, really?
Honestly, it did.
Amewu has been on the ground in Hohoi for quite a while. Don't you forget, it goes back to the days of, you know, his work there, even before he entered Parliament. So it's not a novelty as far as Amewu is concerned in terms of his being on the ground.
He's been district chief executive. He became regional chairman of the party, obviously paid attention to the constituency. Yeah. But, you know, there's this, if I could call it so, backward thinking, that places like Ashanti, places like Volta, places that on a regular day, the NDC is likely to win, the MPP is likely to win the other side. He had sent a lot of development to the area, of course. He really improved upon the lives of the people. But
targeting individuals.
Exactly. But of course, the impression was still that this was a very heavy stronghold as far as the NDC was concerned, which wouldn't have made it possible. Do you know how much work folks like Kofi Jamesi have done in Ketu North? You know, to the extent that they've been at it for quite a while and have still not managed to snap those seats. Yeah. But who actually did magic, and congratulations to him for that.
And as you mentioned, you know, some of these strongholds, I mean, in the Eastern region, 8 seats clawed away by the NDC. You can talk about the fact that Chairman Wuntumi, the Ashanti regional chairman of the NPP, had been saying that in the Ashanti region, they would not make inroads. In fact, they were going to wrest the 3 seats from them. But guess what? They got 4. They even added,
they added New Adubiase.
Exactly.
They added New Adubiase.
New Adubiase is also a constituency that from time to time has its own, you know, games that it plays. But by and large, it's been an MPP, you know, strong.
The reality is that the NDC made a huge showing. Unfortunately, they were coming from a very deep pit, coming up there. The difference was about 63 seats. Comparing the NEC and the NPP as far as this parliament is concerned.
106, 169.
106, 169. So they flipped a lot, except that, you know, the numbers, at least from what the EC is telling us, and even from our own tabulation, shows that it's obviously not enough for them to then gain the majority.
It's just there.
It's almost there. Almost
I guess if it were football, they would say, Eka, kete.
Unfortunately, kete, no, and
Charlie.
A lot of different.
But it's going to make Parliament very, very, I wouldn't say contentious, but it will keep members of Parliament on their toes. Because, you know, there are some you know, motions that you want to pass, you need 2/3. There are certain things. So there, it means that you really need to judge, or you really need to work together. Like, you know, the president-elect was saying on the day when he was accepting, you know, victory, he was actually saying that this time, and you could tell that aggressiveness was no longer there, because now you have to play ball.
Exactly. And I think one of the problems with health face is the issue of absenteeism in the House, because chances are that the lower your figures, the lower the chance of you losing various votes that are coming. But of course, then it creates a room for the various parties, particularly the MPP and the NDC, to ensure that as much as possible they are consulting and they are you know, working together. But a lot of it will depend on what happens in the next few days. We know that the minority MPs still have concerns, including their flag bearer, as well as the flag bearer, about how they claim that they won this election and it's been stolen, in quotes, for the NPP. As to how they will still be ready to sit down for a cooperation going forward, despite the stand that they've taken, it's a different story. So Parliament is returning today. There's been a lot of talk about chances of the minority MPs displaying some form of protests going into today and probably being clad in black or something as a way to show that they are still protesting the election is likely to happen. So I'm making the point that the next few days will be crucial. A decision on who leads both sides, who becomes speaker, will actually be taken before the 6th of January, when the House eventually finishes its sitting and all. A lot of how things look like in the next Parliament will be highly dependent on that, as to whether eventually John Mahama would come around and how the leadership of the NDC would want to encourage the MPs to work with them.
It remains to be
Otherwise,
seen.
then it's a lot of trouble that we'll see.
So let's do this. As we delve into the new entrants, I would like to start from the women's front, and that is pretty interesting. In the 7th Parliament, 38 of them. Now we have 40 of them, 25 retaining their seats, some 15 of them new entrants. And boy, oh boy, interesting picture. I mean, Agnes Latte in Krowo, as you can see on your screens, Ablan Jifagomashi in K2 South, Dorcas Afo Toffee, Jomoro constituency. That's where there was a bit of an attack. But let's talk about Dorcas, because she is mother of musician Fantana.
Precisely.
And people see her and they're thinking, whoa.
And there's talk about how some musicians were in the town to campaign and, you know, do a concert ahead of the post itself. But we are told she's actually been an active member of the party in the constituency for quite a while now,
right.
Supporting various activities, being involved in women activities in the constituency and beyond. Unfortunately, her claim to fame has to do with her being the mother of Fantana.
Right.
She managed to win the race at the constituency level of the NDC in the primaries very convincingly. And there are huge expectations. You know, that's a seat that has virtually been flipping for quite a while now. The CPP has held it before in recent history.
Samia Nkrumah.
Exactly, Samia Nkrumah, who came back as an independent candidate.
Yes, but did not make it.
You know, exactly. The NPP has held it before with Paulician, and the NDC sees her as the magic person who has managed to wrestle it from both sides.
So from her, in the Greater Accra region, quite a showing here as well, with I think now 20 of the seats with the NDC and about 14 of them with the NPP. And when you come here, I mean, in the Ga areas, Rita Naodole, so
yes,
for example, Ladade Kotopong. That's a new one.
Yes, and even the earlier reference, apart from Fantana's mother, we had the Crow MP as well, Agnes, who managed to wrestle that seat from a female, Elisabetta Folokwe. So then, just if it hadn't been two women fighting for the seat, and we're having a situation where one was fighting elsewhere, and the person who was being dislodged wasn't a woman, they would have had probably an additional one woman taking up. And the number of that in terms of women losing to women, that's an interesting place. But again, then it shows that we're having a lot of the women actually getting involved in the various places. Rita Dolekwe, another key person, for a very long time, honestly, until she won the seat and we all went digging her background, she wasn't actually a name that was quite familiar as far as the activities of the NDC in this particular region is concerned. But it speaks to the point about it's not just a case of them trying to empower more women to get into the seats, but then she also appears to be someone who has really worked for a long time, both within the Greater Accra region area as far as the NDC is concerned, and even beyond at the level of the national executive. She has a very solid background. The interesting thing going into the next parliament would be the backgrounds of these individuals, because then it will feed directly into which committees that they would be on, and we are likely to see them come up more based on whatever background that they're coming to. Another very interesting showing as well in the Ladade Kotopong.
Okay, so let's do another one from the Greater Accra region, and maybe we'll go to the Central region. I'm sure you know exactly
I'm more interested. I'm also really interested.
I'm headed with that. But there's also Ablekuma North. Now, there's a history to the Ablekuma North seat, because when you mention Sheila Bartels, Kwamina Bartels comes to mind. Second Parliament, 1996. Third Parliament from 2000. Her father was in that slot. And you can call it history repeating itself after, what, some 16 years, where Sheila Bartels, and she won by a whopping, you know, maybe 20,000+, almost 30,000 votes. That's quite a testament.
And, you know, she managed to beat an incumbent MP in that particular constituency. Even before then, she got onto the ticket of the NPP. And while the expectation was huge that she would have won, especially coming from the background that you mentioned, a place where, a home where they've done politics for a lot of years. The father was the former interior minister at a point in time in the previous administration. And so that clout is there. Then there's the assumption that that experience, well, not exactly experience, but at least knowledge would come to bear on the work that she would be doing in the House as well. So another huge showing there by women, and congratulations to her as well.
Okay, now let's go to the Central region before we go to the Volta region, because there are quite some newbies there as well. But in the Central region, you know, Ophelia was able to hold on to her deceased husband's seat in Mfantsiman. It was one of those areas with a bit of a tricky past in terms of voting patterns, and it wasn't clear exactly how the outcome would be, but she's been able to retain the seat for the NPP, and she's going to be in the 8th Parliament.
Exactly. She has a security background. The former police officer, she rose to the rank of chief inspector. Right. Eventually, she had to leave the police service when the husband passed on, and the party felt that she would be the best person to actually help.
Just like happened in the case of Lydia Sairam Al-Hassan, who was also, you know, similar circumstances, and she was brought in.
Exactly. And then there is the case of Shayo Sudoku, which is not exactly a repeat of that, because the husband of Lydia Oklu was actually the candidate, and then he passed on, and then when he passed on, then she took on as the candidate, and eventually then she won. But then, yes, she appears to have a very interesting background, particularly coming from the security standpoint. And then that makes the point about someone else you were mentioning earlier in the Wild West area, Peter Tobu. So at least
Tobu.
Yes. At least we're having two former police officers getting into the space to help with the conversation. Most likely they'll serve in the Defense and Interior Committee, because, again, with the revision of the standing orders, a lot of emphasis is actually being placed on people getting into spaces where they have that background in. Yeah. But then, yes, she did very well. The margin of win wasn't that huge. We know the DCE had also made a very huge showing in there. We wait to see how things will turn out. But I'm excited that all these women are coming into the space with very interesting experiences, very good background, some very solid personal experiences, and you know, it will go more than just them being women and participating in the city.
Now that you mentioned Peter Lanshane Tobu, let's just, you know, bring that into, you know, context as well. I mean, former executive secretary to David Asante Appiah, former IGP. It was a pretty tricky system, but he was confident at the time. I remember he felt very confident that the people, this seems to have been the people, you know, reaching out and saying, per his story, we want you to take over from here. And it appears that was a vote of confidence on December 7th.
And he defeated a very big guy, Joseph Yele Chire, who has been MP for the area for more than 4 terms.
He actually went into
the contest. Well, they went into a race.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had him step aside.
Exactly. And then he defeated him. You know, at a point in time, usually we used to reach out to him as a security analyst, you know, for interviews.
All of a sudden.
When the key security issues come up and we're seeking his thoughts as an independent security analyst on various issues. And then we saw where he repeatedly was writing various letters and press statements, criticizing various security developments. And then all of a sudden, yes, he got into the space, contested the election and won. Again, very rich experience. He rose to the rank of, if I'm not mistaken, chief superintendent within the...
He was very high ranking. I'm not specific.
Yes, I think rather it's superintendent, yes.
Very high ranking officer.
So he was a high ranking officer, and again, we look forward to him bringing that experience.
Okay, now, K2 South, was that ever in doubt?
No, especially because that's a seat that the NDC has held all this while.
It's like a Bantama or, you know, some other. It's a seat that you really, maybe it will be about the different numbers.
You see, but after what we saw in Hohoe, you can't rule out anything as well, which is the other bit.
But we saw Karachi East, which has now come back to the NDC. It's gone green again.
So in her case, and she's also coming in with very rich experience. She's been involved in the art space for quite a while. She served as the Deputy Minister for Tourism. The incumbent MP Fifi Kwete decided not to go again. She stepped in and she's coming to the House on that particular score. We look forward to her as well bringing that rich experience to bear on her work.
Okay, so Cletus Avoka is in Zabilla. Well, at least that's a very interesting one. And then Kofi Adams in Buim.
Kofi Adams in Buim, of course, he has the huge experience as a political person. All this year served as NDC national organizer. Cletus Avoka has been in parliament before, rose to the rank of a majority leader. Eventually, he...
I think in one of our ballot box incidents, I think I heard...
Yes, yes, exactly. And so he's returning with that very rich experience that he's had from parliament. Although we have a lot of the old MPs losing, of course, his additional experience as a new person, although he's been there before, is very interesting. Not just him, but Zidane in Laura as well, has also been a politically active guy, left the NDC to join the DFP. Eventually, he's gotten back to the NDC and he's coming on the ticket. There are a lot more interesting names. In Karaga, for example, Mohamed Amin Anta, who has been Tamale MC, he's been Deputy Minister for Energy.
This is where we'll have to wrap it up. But of course, the former Vice President's son also in the mix.
Farouk Mahama is coming to Parliament. He's currently been working at Cocoa Board as a Deputy Chief Executive.
Looks like we'll have a lot to talk about. You know, I think we should do round 2 of this. We should plan a round 2. But Joseph Opoku Gakpo, thank you very much for joining us this morning on the AM show. Well, coming up next, enhancing businesses. GIZ is organizing cloud computing seminars for business owners. Find out more about that when we return on the AM show. Do stay. Welcome back, and it's our next conversation as we talk business and innovation. We're joined now by the head of programming with GIZ Ghana. Of course, when you hear GIZ, you think Germany. Gerald Guskowski, who joins us now, as well as Kwame Osei-Tutu, co-founder of Get Energized. Both of them are here with us this morning. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Great. Now, let me start with you, Mr. Guskowski. Now, why is it that the GIZ got interested in partnering, you know, Osei-Tutu's group, you know, to get people energized, if you like? What is it that got you on board?
Okay, thanks a lot. Good morning to everybody. I would first like to explain a bit what the special initiative is all about. It's a program that was launched in 2019 by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And it is to support and promote Ghana with foreign investment and employment. The special initiative works in partnership with Ghanaian small and medium enterprises and as well as industry parks. We are offering advice, contacts and financial support to investors to overcome their investment barriers. The objective is to create 8,500 jobs and improve the working conditions of 13,800 people in Ghana by December 2023 in close partnership with the private sector. The program operates under the brand Invest for Jobs. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, that highlighted the need to use digital technology. Together with our partner Get Energized, we saw that a lot of Ghanaian companies were struggling with both their business continuity during the crisis and their digital transformation.
Right.
We wanted to leverage on the skills of Ghanaian graduate students, so to use their expertise and dynamic living patterns in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math. And IT. This is how we can use homegrown talent to solve the issues from digital transformation in different sectors.
So that's the idea, and that is what got you, interested in partnering them. Right before I come to Osei, let me just ask you, are there any similar projects,
yes,
IT-related projects that the GIZ is partnering, groups like this on?
Yes, we have another one with IBM and i3T Technologies, where we are also supporting young students in the area of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And then we have a project with Amalitech in Takoradi. And also there we are targeting students and to create their capacities. And then we have a program called Make IT. It promotes tech entrepreneurship and startups in Ghana. We have another one, Fair Forward, that's also in the field of artificial intelligence. And the last, and maybe also very important one, because it's a brand new one, we call it Digital Transformation Center Ghana, which is not a physical center, but where it's also on capacity development of people in that field and to use digital transformation for general development.
Right. Sounds very interesting. And when next I come to you, after speaking to Kwame a bit, I'll try to find out how such startups or organizations can reach out to you and tap into all of what you have on offer. But Kwame,
yes,
tell us a bit about this idea, cloud technology and all of that. What brought you to this point at which you are now partnering with the GIZ?
Wonderful. So thank you. When you think about cloud technologies, you're looking at delivering technologies through the internet. That's the simple non-IT definition. Now, you notice that we have a lot of Ghanaian business that they normally like to have the physical interaction with their customers. Now, you notice that if you're looking at reaching the masses, you need to go beyond that, and that is when cloud comes in.
So what would be an example for using the sort of technology you're speaking of?
All right, let's take COVID for an example.
COVID-19.
So, COVID-19. So basically, with our company, we have a flagship program called Azubi Africa. Now, when we were about to launch Azubi Africa, basically the lockdown was put in place. So we had to go cloud. Now, cloud immediately meant that we had to make sure that all the students could access our material online. Okay? So that means that we were training them remotely, some probably from their homes, some from shared spaces and that kind of thing. And if we hadn't put these things in place, there was no way we could have rolled out the program. Yes. So basically, education through the internet, on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your PC, just reaching the masses that way.
Let's talk about technology must be relevant. So let's talk about the relevance of this to, for example, small and medium scale enterprises, other startups, and the rest. What you are coming forth with, how relevant is it, especially in these times of COVID-19, to such entities?
So definitely. So you notice that, for example, with some of the packages we've developed, okay, we have people sitting in our offices working for German organizations in Germany. So basically, we are providing PowerPoint services, we are providing software services, and hitherto wouldn't have been possible.
Right.
So we have no contact with them. We sit, our offices, all our satellite offices are here in Accra. We have 2 offices in North Legon. So all the guys sit there and provide the services to German clients via phone calls, via a software we use called Microsoft Teams. So basically, that is how we communicate with them. So the work comes in, we get it done, we ask for revisions, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Now, let me come back to you, Gerald. Now, so with all of these programs that you have on offer at the GIZ, for entities like those I was speaking about with Kwame, how do they reach out to tap into some of the packages you have on offer?
Yeah, so one of the things is, of course, the conference that we are now hosting. And that one is just to inform of the current status, so what is possible with cloud computing. And on the other hand, also to allow for networking and to show positive examples in that field. So that will take place in 2 days from now.
Yeah.
And I think it's in Fiesta Royale.
Yeah, Fiesta Royale.
And so 2 days from now, which would be Wednesday,
Yes.
Fiesta Royale. What's the time?
It's, I
2
think,
p.m.
2:30, yeah?
2 p.m. to 5:30.
Okay, so 2 to 5:30. We're talking Fiesta Royale in Jolu.
Yes, Jolu.
Okay, so that is the time. What should those participants, what should they expect?
Yes, information in general on cloud computing, so what is already possible there. So we show some positive examples that are already available with students that are practicing in that field, and then, yeah, of course, networking. Huh? That's what's supposed to happen, and networking is always important. You know,
networking, very important.
Yes, very important.
Yeah, and in general, you know, people can also get in contact with us. So we have a web page, which is invest-for-jobs.com. And also via email, it's info@invest-for-jobs.com.
Okay. Yeah. What from your end? You're also going to be in the thick of things. Yes. What should participants expect?
So networking opportunities, growth of businesses, exchanging of ideas, basically. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is where we sew it up. Even if you're not an IT-inclined person, this is an event you want to take stock of. So 2 to 5:30 on Wednesday, Fiesta Royale. In Jola. Make a date, don't you miss it. I'll say medase to you, Kwame, and to you, Gerald, Dankeschön.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Well, up next, it is Showbiz with Caddy, the best of entertainment, right here on the AM Show. Stay.